Milton Erickson, the great psychologist who taught us the extreme importance of verbal, nonverbal, and vocal communication being a synthesis. And unfortunately, I don't have time to do this one, so I'll skip over it. All right, so one of the biggest studies done, there were 1,500 actual jurors who were debriefed. And after jury trials, they were debriefed by forensic psychologists, and they asked them a whole bunch of questions. And they had, one of the things that came out of it was, what do you think of the lawyers? And those people who liked the lawyers, what was your reason for liking the lawyers? What do you like best about the lawyers? And the three things that came out of it were trustworthiness, the things that make people like lawyers: trustworthiness, competence, and dynamism. If you lose your trustworthiness, your client's in deep trouble. So don't over-try your case. I always tell people on the personal injury side, try the case you have, not the case you wish you had. And so be careful about over-trying your case, making statements you can't support. Don't ever make promises to a jury, obviously. And then your competence. The idea of, that's why I like the get in, make your point, and get out. People, boring. They don't want to be bored. You spend a lot of time asking a lot of things that are making a lot of objections that have no real relevance to anything. They feel like that you're incompetent. They won't like the lawyer. And dynamism just simply means keeping them awake. Here's an anchor you want to create, is this anchor. You want the anchor to be, when the judge says, Mr. Nations, you may proceed, you want your name to be an anchor. When the judge says, Mr. Nations, you may proceed, the anchor is, okay, something's about to happen. Now I have to listen. Now I have to pay attention. The way you create that anchor is when the judge calls your name and says you may proceed, you make something happen. You don't ask the stupid, now did I understand the testimony you just gave to be? Yeah, that's what they said. We all heard it. That's not cross-examination. That's thinking of something while you're trying to think of something. Okay, the ancient principles of audiences are influenced by the way the message is structured and delivered. There's no question about this. This is part of your storytelling. How do you structure your message? If you look at the ancient orators, and you go back 2,000 years, and you look at the incredible trials of Cicero and Pericles, they all use the same rhetorical device. You could check Pericles, look at Sophocles, and of course the father of them all, Testicles. Now, all right, that's a test. I want to make sure you're paying attention. All right. But they all use the same rhetorical devices. Framing, the way a question is framed, can have an enormous impact on the answer. Let me give you a quick example. We had the Astrodome, where the Astros played baseball. The developers they bought up a bunch of very, very cheap property downtown, and they were only going to get rich if we built a new baseball stadium. I had season tickets forever at the Astrodome, loved it. So they were trying to convince the county and the city and the sports authority to build a new baseball stadium. So they ran a test, and they questioned the citizens. And they asked the question, do you want to build a new baseball stadium downtown? The answer was 67% said no, 33% said hell no. Now, what did they do? There's a lesson here. They reframed the question. This is absolutely true. This is exactly what happened. They reframed the question. They made the question, would you prefer to have a new baseball stadium on the parking lot of the Astrodome or downtown? 67% said downtown, 1/3 said the parking lot at the Astrodome. We now have a $400 million baseball stadium downtown. Okay? That's the power of reframing. That's why these stupid political surveys are so inane, because you tell me what answer you want and let me write the question, I'll get your answer for you. So it's all about reframing. So think about how you're reframing your questions. Reframe your diluted messages into persuasive, pithy, and probative. Your message is, Susan was a highly skilled computer software designer with a PhD in computer sciences. That's your message, okay? When you dilute that message, she was a cheerleader in high school, made National Honor Society, and dated the captain of the football team. Take out all the superfluous stuff. I know you may be personalized, if it serves a purpose, like personalizing or showing education or showing something valuable, fine. But cut through all the BS in your questioning and in your evidence. Your principle of sequencing. Use this in your order of proof as well. Think about how you're sequencing your testimony, and think when you're putting on your case, think how extremely important the first witness is, because you have a primacy portion of your case too. The primacy portion of your case begins with, you have your opening statement, and you have your then you have all the cross-examination of prosecution witnesses, but then they're waiting to hear what you've got to say. Your first witness is your most important. So think about your order of proof and your order of presentation of evidence. Now, sequencing. Steve is envious, stubborn, critical, impulsive, industrious, and intelligent. On the other hand, Frank is intelligent, industrious, impulsive, critical, stubborn, and envious. Which one do you like best? You like Frank because he's intelligent, he's industrious, he's impulsive, and he's exactly the same as Steve. It's just a question of how you sequenced it, you see. So think about sequencing. Sequencing is extremely important. And these are actual tests. I didn't write this stuff. These are actual tests, and the test results come out that everybody likes Frank better. Okay, so the power of metaphors. Now let me tell you about metaphors. If you want to communicate directly with the unconscious mind, you use metaphors. You need to create metaphors in your case that make a powerful point for you. There are few things in the English language that carry more weight or more power than metaphors. The reason is metaphors communicate directly with the unconscious mind. They do not have to be processed. So you want to get a metaphor in your case. You want to get analogies in your case. Analogies resonate. And again, the way to get them is you get a focus group, and you ask your focus group for what's an analogy. Quick example: I represented a child who had 9 defibrillations, and as a result of an overdose of digitalis, had to be a 9-month-old child that had to be defibrillated 9 times, and so defibrillation, as Aristotle said, does not execute the required level of emotion. So I'm asking my doctor, I said, okay, tell me this, describe this in the present tense for me, tell me what goes on. Tell me about defibrillation. And so he says, well, you put a paddle here, you send an electric shock through the heart with sufficient force to what? Stop it from beating. The next signal from the brain comes down, starts the heart beating in the normal pattern again. Now, Phil, answer this question. It's just like what? It's just like electrocution. Now, I'm arguing a case where a 9-month-old child was electrocuted 9 times with sufficient force to stop their heart from beating. A required level of emotion. I got the largest verdict ever obtained in the state. In fact, it had to be remitted because electrocuting a child is a hell of a lot different than defibrillating one. So words are important. Metaphors are important, and analogies are important. So think about how you can use those. And the other thing is, you're using these word structures. These are the ones that I talk about. Cicero, Sophocles, Pericles, all of them use. Antithesis. Let us never negotiate out of fear, but let us never fear to negotiate. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. The rule of 3. The rule of 3 is one of the most powerful rhetorical tools that you can use. We think in terms of 3s, we remember in terms of 3s, and the classic example of that was, as usual, comes from from Churchill, who, in given one of those incredible, memorable speeches he gave in World War II on the radio to keep the British people fighting and to keep their spirit up, he said they were talking about the impending invasion of Britain, which was expected at any moment. He said, "We shall fight them on the beaches. We shall fight them in the streets. We shall fight them in our homes. We shall never, never, never surrender." He understands the use of the rule of three. Parallel structure is a very good technique too. You will see two John Jones in this case. You do this in opening statement. We're going to bring you two John Jones. The one is the accused, the one is the actual person. And then when you come back to summation, as we said, we've shown you, we would show you two John Jones in this case. We did show you this John Jones and this John Jones, and it's a very powerful, it's a powerful tool. So, see if there's anything else. I'm about out of time. Oh, the echo effect. In your closing argument, if you want to see the echo effect is refrain, it's powerful. Read Martin Luther, read it, study Martin Luther King's use of repetition and echo. He says, he uses the phrase, "I have a dream," 18 times in this. But notice how he uses it. It's not in a sentence, it's a refrain. And it is a powerful, powerful, powerful tool. One reason why we're still studying it today. Another thing is this one, word choices, the Gettysburg Address. The Gettysburg Address is only 270 words. 203 of those are one syllable. Churchill said, "Short words are best, and old short words are the very best." By old, he means those that everybody understands their meaning. They've been around for a long time. But short words have punch, they have power. And study the Gettysburg Address. It's one of the most powerful, and it was given in about three or 4 minutes. I gave this speech one time, and it was a luncheon speech. And I went back. The judge was at the luncheon, and I went back and asked him that afternoon. He said, "How much time do you need for closing argument, Mr. Nations?" I said, "I need an hour, Your Honor." And he said, "Well, you know, Mr. Nations, the Gettysburg Address was given in 4 minutes, and we still remember it so well today." I said, "Yeah, Judge, but Abe Lincoln wasn't on a contingent fee." So, so we get our quotes from prose, poetry, biblical. Song lyrics are some of the best. Country songs in Texas, there's a country song for everything. If there's not a country song that doesn't fit your case, write one. The song lyrics, my wife ran off with my best friend, and Lord, I miss him so. There's a song lyric for everything.